sex chromosomes. Remember, you got one pair. That 23rd pair is indicating whether or not you're male or female. So XX is female. XY is male. And some abbreviations for female and male. Female is a circle. That, and the male, a circle with an arrow. All right, so these are the symbols, male and female, but the chromosomes, XX, female, XY, male. There are some genes on these sex chromosomes, and those are called sex-linked traits, such as colorblindness. So colorblindness is a sex-linked recessive trait. It's not dominant, it's the one that's hidden. And with colorblindness, there's different forms of colorblindness. The one we're looking at is the red-green colorblindness, so you can't tell the difference between red and green. So we look at the chromosomes. Okay, we're going to say, so we have XY. That's a female. This is a male. Chromosomes, these are sex chromosomes. They can carry traits, like I talked about the colorblindness. So we're going to look at why colorblindness is more common in males and females. So colorblindness, we're going to indicate with big C, little c. Colorblindness, though, is recessive. So if you have a little c, that's going to indicate colorblind. If you have a big C, you are normal sighted, not colorblind. Okay, so now let's think about it. If this is a dominance pattern of inheritance. So if you have big C, you're obviously not colorblind, right? Because you have two of these. If you have big C, little c, remember dominance. Big C is dominant. You're still not colorblind. However, if you have a little c, you're colorblind. If you don't have a big C, you're colorblind. So let's look at, with these traits, they are on the X chromosomes. So there are some traits on the Y, but most of them are on the X. So if a female, and we indicate it by using like an exponent. So a sex-linked trait, we're going to put, let's say this is a big C and this is a big C. So this is a female that is not colorblind. Actually, a homozygous dominant female for colorblindness. Not colorblind. Big C, big C. Okay? If the female is big C, little c, she still is not colorblind because she has one big C. However, if she is big C, however, if she's little c, then she's colorblind. But notice she needs two of them to be colorblind. Now let's look at the male. Since the gene for colorblindness is found on the X chromosome, not on the Y, there's nothing going to be over here. So here, if the male has a big C on the X chromosome, the male is not colorblind. However, if the male gets a little c, the male is now colorblind. So the male only needs one little c to be colorblind, whereas the female needs two. So this is why oftentimes in sex-linked traits, the male more commonly shows that trait, because the male only needs one of them. Because the male only has one X chromosome. The female needs to have two of them. So what if we were to cross, let's say we have a female is not colorblind, but she's heterozygote. And the male, let's say, is colorblind. Let's see what percent their offspring is going to look like. We're going to cross the female. The female, we're going to say, remember, XX. We're going to say the female's heterozygote. Now this is different than what we've done with the monohybrid cross because we're using the letters for the genes as exponents above the chromosome because these are sex linked. So this is on the sex chromosomes. So this is a heterozygote, a female. And we're going to cross that female because remember the X indicates the cross. A male is a little c, the male's colorblind. So we want to figure out if these two individuals get married, have kids, what's the probability their child's going to be colorblind? Okay, so that's our question. We want to figure out what's the chance they're going to have a colorblind kid. We're going to cross X, big C, X little c. Remember, this is a female, it's a heterozygote. So this female is not colorblind, but she's a carrier for it. So sometimes a heterozygote is considered a carrier because they have one recessive gene. The male is XY. The male we're going to say is colorblind. So now we're going to get the alleles. Now we have X, little c, Y. Now I'm going to go down and across. So I have big X, big C, X little c, down and across, X little c, X little c, down and across, X big C, Y, down across, X little c, Y. Okay, so now we know the chance of having a female offspring or girl is 50%, right? Chance of having a boy, 50%. But if we look at what's the chance of having a child that's colorblind, regardless of their sex, well, let's see. This one's not colorblind because they have a big C. This one's colorblind, two little c's. This one is not colorblind because they're big C. This one's colorblind. So 50% chance the child is colorblind. All right, and in this case, you have the female and male have an equal chance of being colorblind. So this does not mean if this couple has 4 kids, the 2 of them are going to be colorblind. All right, think about it now. The Punnett squares just show the percent probability. So 50% chance the child will be colorblind. It doesn't mean half of the kids are going to be colorblind. Because really, they could have 4 kids and all of them are not colorblind, right? It's rare that it would happen, but it's possible. What is that chance? They have 4 kids that are not colorblind. Well, what's the chance of one of these kids not being colorblind? 50%, right? Or 1 out of 2. What's the chance the second child not being colorblind? 1 out of 2, just like tossing dice. What's the chance the third child's not going to be colorblind? 1 out of 2. What's the chance the 4th child's not going to be colorblind? 1 out of 2. Multiply, rule of multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2, 16. 1 out of 16 chance they could have 4 children and none of them are colorblind. Okay, so this does not indicate the numbers. This just is percentages. It's important to know that. So the percent chance that that gene's going to show up. That's what it's showing. It's how the offspring produce, the offspring of the babies, what their genes look like. So you have a 50-50 chance here of having a child that's colorblind. Now I want you to do some practice problems in the YouTube description below. Check it out. Woo!